Who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Hi, I'm Gail Rubenstein, the founder and CEO of a company called Retail Resilient, social selling for the car industry. And we help auto dealers, auto agencies, and vendors in the auto industry sell more cars, service more cars, and make more money using our social selling strategy. That includes TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and anything else you can think of. So if you're looking to invest thousands and make millions, we're definitely the social selling company for you. Like I said, who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
If you run a service drive, you know these days first impressions matter. But when your advisors are tied up with inbound phone calls, they tend to neglect their other, more important duties. And did you know 75% of all service calls are frequently asked questions in routine requests? The average dealer misses up to 30% of inbound calls, adding up to a ton of missed service opportunity and increased customer churn. 68% of callers actually go elsewhere if they can't get through, which means you could be losing $60,000 to $70,000 every month in service revenue simply from missing calls. Introducing Brooke.
Hi there.
Your best service scheduling assistant. Brooke is the first intelligent digital voice assistant to answer, handle, and appoint all of your inbound service calls. Hiring Brooke means absolutely no call goes unanswered, boosting your customer satisfaction and reducing your overhead costs. And talking to Brooke is like talking to a friend.
Necessary, whether to a service advisor, roadside assistance, or a live agent. And I can do it without missing a beat.
You really do check all the boxes. Book with Brooke today.
Everybody wants to be part of a bigger story.
We're a small company, but we're going to change the whole industry.
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. It's actually officially afternoon. I've been looking at my watch all morning here going, oh, no, I gotta say good morning. So we're awake and we're here in the North Hall of the NADA, or NADA, as people talk about. And, 2022, where we're live and we're seeing people. We're not doing this, covered our faces with masks, and God willing, we can keep doing that. Welcome to the Auto Hub Show from the Poly booth here at NADA, and we are here interviewing a very good friend of mine who I just met like 8 minutes ago, but about 2 years ago we met, and I've been telling everybody that, oh, you're not 4 inches tall. Everybody knew I tell it.
You are taller than you are sitting down.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
For me, like I think that's one of the blessings of that the reach got.
Yes.
We may not have met.
We would never have met. We would be. What's a guy from Vancouver, Canada, going to meet an HR person in Sarasota, Florida? Expert. And of course, time to introduce her. This is Sandy Zannino, who is a HR automotive guru. That's like a capital G. She is from Sarasota, Florida, as I already told you. And Sandy, please introduce yourself like we do in the show and tell everybody about yourself.
Well, you were doing a really good job there.
Thank you.
I'm Sandy Zannino, and my company is called Innovative Auto HR. I am HR. And there's some friends. It's so much fun to see friends here. And I help dealers protect their profits through compliance, training, culture building. And I'm also a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant.
You know, every time I go to say that, I get tongue-tied to diverse, I can't say it.
Well, you can shorten it and just say DEI.
DEI, but that's the
DEIB.
Yeah, Earnhardt Enterprise comes on their video here earlier, so you can't really say that. But yes, I understand that. I also can't say Sherman Sashimi, so that's a problem.
I'm not going there.
No, you're not going there. So Sandy, we've had a lot of conversations about HR, and one of my favorite things to pick on in our business, even though I try to be positive, is just how we view HR. And even the other partner, my partner in the auto show, who unfortunately isn't here because he's busy working. Can you imagine that? Him and I always talk about that the shows that get the least amount of views and listens are the HR shows. And yet it's such a big area. We talk about this all the time. You know, the biggest single expense of a dealer is their people, and they don't pay attention. Why do you think that is?
Well, in a way, I kind of understand it. HR normally, we're very detailing, and while the devil is in the details, it's boring. It's not, it's hard to sexy HR up, right, when you're talking about complaints. Plus, dealers are weary. They're weary from having to deal in this country with the FTC, with the 23 different compliance laws. By the time you get to HR, there is a part of me that understands it. I've been in this industry long enough to get that. However, human resources for me is important. And one thing I always like to say is, if you manage people, you're a human resources manager, whether you realize or not, and it can make it break.
Well, I was with a dealer group that the HR was the CFO, and then they went through the generation change, and they decided to become more corporate. And they brought in a new ops person, and this person had deep experience as a family-owned business. And what ended up happening was they, hello, Jeff Williams, how are you? Sorry, I had to do that. They hired an HR person. This person was cleaning house. And the HR person's job was to handle the house. And that's got to be the worst thing you could do, wouldn't it?
Well, I think it's the worst thing that any manager can do. It's the hardest thing, one of the most difficult things. It's never easy whether it's a warranted termination, especially when it's warranted, right? It's hard. It's a hard thing to do. So, is there a question in there other than that it's a hard thing to do, or is it just that HR is often here comes HR, somebody's losing their job?
Well, it was the case of when they went to a formal HR was when they decided they were getting rid of people, and they did it in a way that how would I put it? They upset them so much that people would quit. And is it fair? First of all, that really isn't HR, is it?
No, and I would have to know, one of the things about being an HR professional is that I have learned to ask questions, who, when, where, why, what, and really get what's happening. So I couldn't answer what was going on in there. However, human resources for me, HR is, I need to build trust with the people that I work for, and also the people that I work with.
Well, in my opinion, that term is I don't know. It's human resources. It's this term that, again, like you say, isn't very exciting. But if you came up with an exciting name, it would be more exciting.
Well, we've been trying to come up. I mean, HR is in a identity crisis. I think you hear a lot of different names for HR. The people, either the head of people or the culture and people, director of culture and people. We're trying to come up with different names, but in the end, it's human resources, right? So it is what we do. It's what we do.
It's actually funny to see all these titles now. Just like Don Brady here, and Don Brady is the Vice President of Dealer Success at Ship Your Car Now. And in the old days, we call that just VP of Sales. And what he does is sales, but it's like way more because he's actually trying to prove success. Switching gears a little bit, I'm asking everybody this: what's the one thing you really want to glean from the show?
Well, other than being really excited to see people that one haven't met, right, like you. So people just walk by, so people that I haven't seen. I am looking forward to seeing some new vendors.
Yeah.
And really, it's just about networking for me. Can't miss the parties too. There are some fun parties.
Well, it's very funny because we mentioned earlier that one of the recommendations to people here is don't sign contracts at parties. Sorry, everybody, but
Don't sign
contracts
contracts when
at
you're
parties.
drinking. Ever. Whether it's at a party or
Well, how many people have you met that they discovered they got stuff and they have no recollection?
I don't know.
Lots for sure. So, if you were setting up the show, what would be the biggest booth you would pick? If you were in charge of the show,
If I was in charge of National Auto Dealers Association, and what booth would I pick for?
what would you make the biggest booth? What would you choose to be the biggest? By the way, I'm purposely asking you weird stuff just because I know.
Yeah, this is like a weird.
Totally.
Well, I'm not going to be selfish and say, well, we'll make it, something of HR.
Why?
Well, because if I'm putting on a show, I need to think about what the whole, what's the end game of the show.
Well, wouldn't you want to have a booth here with a play on, somebody letting staff go, actors and everything, and you?
So you're talking about a stage where we're doing improv, really?
Improv, exactly.
That could be fun. We've got a player right here.
Yeah, he'd be really good. He'd be good at doing. He's a very good Spanish speaker. He'd know stuff.
He's got some good talents going on with his.
Well, everybody does. If you're in the car business, you have to have hidden talents.
Well, this is true.
That's right.
He's got some pretty good accents.
Oh, exactly. You wouldn't know that he's
Natural
Scottish.
Scottish accent.
Exactly.
To Texas.
What? Tell me something about you. I don't know. What's your business? I don't.
We've talked a lot about this.
Oh no, I know a lot.
Well, that a lot of people don't know that I also recruit. Right? I help dealers, I help all kinds of employers find, attract, and most importantly, help them retain new talent, right? Which is in the world we're in right now is a huge thing. The retention is important.
Retention is another one of those keywords. And we talk about this all the time in this business. It's this thing, we need to retain our staff. We don't like to hire people. I hated going through the interview because I found myself saying the same thing over and over again. And I actually went down the rabbit hole of really weird questions. Well, I don't ask really weird questions. But I'd ask these people things about somebody coming in with their son, and they see this lifted truck, and it's got a 600 horsepower engine in it. They know if he buys the thing, he's going to be dead the next day as he flies off the cliff. The parents say, don't sell it to him. What would you do? And then you look at people you're giving me right now. But retention, how do you legitimately retain people?
Well, this is the part that we do talk about, only I don't really put it out there very much that I do put it out there. The part that differentiates us is that I help employers kind of not create, because there is already a value proposition, but more figure out exactly what it is, help communicate that to the hiring managers so that they can articulate that value proposition to your candidates to give them a reason for coming to work for you, right? So it's really kind of like marketing, but it's very, very important. And then it has to be authentic. There's a lot more that goes into it, and the employee value proposition itself. Then I could answer in a sort of 30 seconds. But it's super important for your retention, right? It has to be authentic.
You got 30 minutes if you want. We can sit here all day.
Well, I mean, just think about values, right? Like most dealers have their core values, either on their website or on their So those values become a part of the proposition, right? And come up with stories, right? So your managers, let's say your values are integrity, service. Those are actually core values from a dealer that I worked for many, many years ago, right? So, like, I'll give you an example of one of the things that we did. I implemented a we call onboarding orientation, right? But it was the first day for every employee, not just for sales, not just for your, profit creators, but for every new employee. And uh, part of what I would talk to them about is number one, I gave them a little card with those values on it. And here's the core values for X, Y, Z. And then I told them some stories about how those things showed up on a daily basis, right? So they know what the company is all about. And it started them off on a great foot, right? And there are other things that are attributable to their very, very low turnover, like 30% turnover, which is super low in our industry, right? I'm not saying that it was just about me, but it definitely did seem to do it.
A lot of people view 30% retention as good number.
Right?
Yeah. So how do we beat the elephant in the room of our business? How do we get away from this thing that we keep falling into with people?
I don't know that it's an elephant in the room because that's something that, like, that phrase is when it kind of would indicate something that's there that you don't talk about. We talk about these things and have been talking about things since 1998. I started this industry in 1998, and still the chatter is about turnover. How do we find good talent? How do we keep that talent, right? We've been talking about it for a long time, so I don't know if that's the elephant that's in the room because we are talking about it.
How do we stop talking about it? Talking about it and start
We
doing it.
stop talking and we take action, right? And we really, and because it's not rocket science, and it doesn't have to be world-changing things. You're going to make one quick change, one small step, right? It just starts.
So, did you lose your?
Yeah,
Not a problem.
I gotta say, the coffee bar, when I was.
They did a heck of a job.
Thank you.
Oh, by the way, again, we're at the Poly booth here, which used to be Dealer Poly, and now it's Poly, which is a much better thing. I'm just waiting to find my Poly. So, this business has changed so much over the years. Yet seems to be the one thing we don't want to keep that we're keeping. And where did it come from? Why do you think it's still here without attacking anybody? Why do you think the issue with people?
Why do I think what is still here?
Why do you think our issue with people is such a problem? On the dealership level, especially. Well, certainly this one.
Well, I think that what we need to do, I think that we have these glasses on, right? And we look at employees in a certain way. Some of that is generational, right?
Yeah.
I think, right? Like my generation, I grew up with a belief that number one, if I work hard, if I put my head down and I work hard, right, I would be rewarded. That wasn't necessarily my experience, right? So we also are an industry it's an industry that was built by white males for white males. It is what it is,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now there's the elephant.
I said, don't attack anybody.
I'm not attacking anybody.
Enjoy.
Don't do that at all.
Yeah.
They've built an amazing industry, right? Like I love automotive. I wouldn't still be here if I didn't love this industry, right? I see the greatness of this industry.
Yeah, I've had lots of opportunities to leave it, and I still keep coming back in different forms, but I'm coming back.
Right. Well, just think about that small thing. For many people, for many men that look like you, putting your head down.
You mean good
working
looking
hard,
guys?
that's
Come
it.
on, tell me the truth.
Putting your head down, working hard for people.
Yeah.
Wasn't necessarily my experience. Because I work my ass.
But I have to tell you something. It isn't necessarily true because, you know, I came from you work hard. I started in the business when you were, you know, you got there when it opened and you left when it closed. And if it closed at 9, it closed at 9, it closed at 11:30, it closed at 11:30. And I saw and I experienced many people that came in and say, yeah, you know, we're going to go a different direction. Thanks very much, bye. And I've seen a great deal of experience.
Well, that's where I was heading actually, like that generational thought of, you know, on time is late, right? Like get there early, be ready to work, get there, just do what you're told. Don't make any waves.
Don't do what I do,
questions.
do what I say.
Or well, that's an aspect too,
Yes.
right? That's more to me. That's more of a leadership thing, right? The way I think about work. So when we look at the generations that are entering our workforce today, you know, Gen Z is a great big generation that's entering the workforce.
Yeah.
Millennials are a huge generation. They are the largest cohort in the workforce, and these two generations will make up. I'd have to look it up right now, but it's going to be like 70 to 75% of the workforce. Right? They want something different. They think about work differently than
Well, and the fact is that many of these people that I read, you know what I mean, is they're not looking to be in one job, forget one employer, one job for their life.
well,
They
it's
want to do a
interesting.
whole bunch of other things.
That's interesting. Like when I was just talking to about recruiting job that I was doing. I sent a resume with job number. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not job jumping. We're talking about 20 years with 5 jobs, right? Which means, yeah. So, but
Pardon me a second, that's
we need to change how we think, right? Like my 20 years, more than 20 years, I had 2 jobs, right? Like I'm the perfect candidate. I am staying. I'm there. However, moving, if you're not moving up, right? People are going to move, and so we need to also think about creating.
I agree, you know, and it's,
Meaningful.
and it's funny, this business is very hard for that because there's not a lot of, you know, if you take a salesperson, you take a tech, and first of all, a technician, they train their whole lives to that point to fix cars, and it's really tough for them to move up. The only time they think about moving up is if they hurt themselves and they can't turn them into, or in some cases, the technology is something they just don't want to deal with. But when you get that age group, that's a big challenge for us because we have only, in my opinion, we have 2 groups of people. We have the 20-year people and we have the 1-year people. And you know, it's a case of, well, you know what they do with the 1 year, they had 1 year here, they had 1 year there. Sometimes you meet them and the reason they left was their twice.
I think it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen as the market normalizes, right? Because when you think about this, and I've actually talked to a couple of the experts who they have new salespeople new to the industry. So funny.
So they don't know what they're doing.
Right. I'm not going to go into that part of it, but what will happen? You know, will there be a great resignation coming up from those people who we have trouble attracting people to our industry? It's not all about. It's not all about money. So I think that's going to be put to the test.
Although tied up with money is success. If you brought into the business, you're not trained the skills, because I do believe talent isn't something that can't be trained. And I tried to hire people with talent and hope to build that talent, train it. But when they hire a body that comes in because they now have openings, and that person just stands there and takes a call, and the first person that they get a hold of buys a car. And they only have the green one in with the red interior, and they buy it. They get 10% of MSRP. They pull down this huge commission. They sell a Corolla and they get $1,000 commission. And then all of a sudden, they start getting cars in. And now they have to start competing. We had a couple people on the show, dealers that are scared witless about what their salespeople are going to do, what their teams are going to do as inventory builds up. And then they're going to have to pivot from, well, you can put your name in, or here's that one, but it's 10 grand over MSRP, to what do I have to do to earn your business? So, that's, I don't think we're going to have a great resignation. I'm afraid we're going to have a great jumping the ship, be it resignations or something else. I'm not sure what we're doing.
Exodus is what you're.
Oh, Exodus, I like that. I never thought about that.
I would, if I had a client who talked to me about that, I would probably recommend that they start being open with their sale about their news. It's like, here's what's there. If these are new people, they don't understand our industry. It's like normal.
They have no idea.
So,
And then they discover.
so they've been sold, right? They need to understand. Here's how you're going to make money. Like, here's your simple pay plan.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's a whole other issue.
Here's your pay plan that you can understand that your neighbor who's never worked in car business.
Yes.
That's
Well, we all think, well, it's paying commission. And that's the thing you hear about the new generation, Gen Z. They don't want to sit there and work 12 hours for $200 paycheck. Right?
taking. Yeah. I don't think anybody wants to work 12 hours for
Here, I'm going to tell you a funny thing. Then we're gonna close and leave it to you to like say the last. Yes, and she goes, thank God, because Jeff's asking weird questions like that. But when I started the business, and I'll tell you when, because it's a long time ago, the flat commission was $200 minimum. And guess what it is today in those places? Well, depending where you are, it's 100. I mean, I sold Toyotas, and we sold Corollas at 3,900 Canadian, and you got you got 150 for the Nerva. You got 200 for every other one. And you never got more because you got paid in gross. Now everybody, most of the people I see, it's at 200 to minimum. Little tough back then. The rent was $600 a month. Nothing's changed. Here's the funny part.
A lot of years, not that you're going to say how many.
Right?
Wow.
Maybe I'm wrong. I'm happy. Yeah. Could you? I'm happy to be wrong. I'd like to be wrong because I open my mouth as I think. But nevertheless, thank you so much for coming here. I really appreciate it. Jordan, I'm so happy to meet you. I cannot wait. If somebody asked me the number one person that I wanted to meet, it was not Michael Strahan, it was Sandy Zannino.
Oh, I did not pay him to say.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's always a pleasure.
And I know I'm going to bump into you. Pleasure's always. Because he's here.
Ian's here.